Hi, welcome back. This is Roger with Steampunked Out. I'm going to do a real quick video today talking to you about how to get the measurements and stuff from the different types of guns to have custom holsters made. Typically, I work with either real or replica guns that are based on actual weapons, or occasionally I do some of the modded out, science fiction, fantasy, the Nerf mods and stuff like that. I'm going to show you how to do the tracings mostly for real guns or replicas because of the liability of shipping those here to have them custom fit, and the extra cost involved and stuff like that. Usually, for the most part, the types of holsters that I do for those types of weapons, there's usually two categories. They'll either be a semi-automatic style weapon that would have a clip and so forth, and there's all kinds of different shapes and sizes, hundreds of them. Or I'll do like a wheel gun, like a revolver of some type, that's more of a Western style, or maybe one of the modern styles if it's going to be for a concealed carry holster or something like that. What I'm going to show you to do is do the tracings for the measurements for those two types of weapons, and these will work for replicas or even like the toy cap guns that are standard gun shapes. Something that's based on something that's a working model. Not normally the science fiction stuff. The thing is, when you start doing like your Nerfs, and especially when they're modded out and they've got all kinds of additional pieces put to them with scopes and everything else, unfortunately I haven't found just a great way to do that from a tracing. But because they're not real guns and they're usually don't weigh just a ton, the best thing to do is just make arrangements with me to send it right to the workshop. That way I can have it in the shop and do a custom holster that's going to fit that gun perfectly every time. It'd be great if I could do that with the real guns, but please don't send me your real handgun. I really don't want the liability of having that. If you've got a little cap gun or something like this, you're welcome to send it, but because the tracing method seems to work so well for the real guns, as long as it's a standard toy gun or something that has a standard shape like this, so it's kind of conical, the tracing seems to work well for that. So you can either do the tracing and email it, scan it in and email it to me, or you can mail it through the regular mail. Either one is fine. So let me zoom in to the workspace here. I'm going to show you real quick the basic measurements and stuff that I'll need. Be right back. Okay, so we're going to start off showing you how to do a quick tracing on the automatic style handgun. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if I can show you very well or not. What I've done on this piece of paper here is I've actually made a right-angled line on the paper, and I've got this marked off every ½ inch with a little tick mark. You don't have to put the numbers or anything on it. But this grid is really going to help, especially if you're scanning and doing an email, or send it to me digitally, because I want to make sure that when I print the copy that it's not printing to size. I want to make sure that I can actually take a ruler and lay it on the printout and make sure that all these lines are exactly ½ inch. That way I've got a correlation to make sure everything is to scale. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to lay the gun that I'm going to trace really close to these lines here, and I want the top edge of this gun to run as straight parallel as possible to this top line. So you can get a little better view of that, so that it's not in here crooked or anything like this. I want it to run as straight parallel to this as I can. Then I'm going to take my pencil or pen or whatever I'm going to do this tracing with, and I want to make sure I want to hold it straight down. I don't want to put this at an angle on either side, because that's going to throw the tracing off. And I'm just going to push it up against the edge of the gun, and I'm going to literally trace just like you would do, trace your hand or something on a piece of paper. Try to keep the lines as clean as possible. It's not necessary to be completely perfect on it. It's going to be a little bumpy, especially around some of these places where the sights are and that kind of thing. But just get it, you know, as close and as neat as possible. Mark the inside of the trigger. That shows me where the trigger goes. For some of the more Western style holsters, a lot of times they like to have that trigger exposed. And that's really pretty much it. So you can kind of see it's a real simple method. From this I can get almost everything I need. What doesn't show up is the girth of the gun at the widest point that's going to be in the holster. And that 99.9% of the time is right here, right around that trigger guard. So what I need is an actual measurement. And you can do this by either taking a piece of string and wrapping it around here. It has to be a non-stretchy string. If it's stretchy, it's not going to work. I'm going to get a false measurement. Or if you have a cloth ruler measuring tape like this, then you can do it that way. And it's really simple to do. You just lay it around the thickest part of the gun and fold it over. And this particular gun is sitting on about 6 3/4 inches. So if I know the girth is 6 3/4, if you write that on here, 6 3/4 inches. When you send that in, then I know to make sure that the widest part of this gun on the trigger guard area, like all the way around, is going to fit a girth of 6 3/4. All the rest of this is going to fall right into line on that when I do the actual holster. So it should fit along with the proportional formula that I've got set up when I do the holster. So that's really all that I need. That's, you know, for an automatic, it's pretty standard. You know, it's easy to do. For a wheel gun of some type, it's a little bit different. The girth on these is actually usually a lot thicker around the cylinders. There's, you know, a lot more to it here, at least the ones that I've dealt with. So same thing on this. I've already got my grid marked off. It's a little bit, you know, it's going a different angle here because it's a little bit bigger of a gun. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're just going to lay this up so the handle is kind of close to this back line here. You want to get close, kind of close to the front line, but again, keeping the barrel as parallel as you possibly can to this. You know, maybe a ½ inch or so away from the line, give you some room to trace. And just hold it nice and steady, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to trace it right off, all the little pieces and parts, holding the pen straight down. We don't want to get an angle on the pen or pencil, whatever you're going to use. Please don't use a magic marker. If you use like a big fat Sharpie on it, then usually what I end up with is a big fat line, and it's really kind of difficult to get good measurements for that because the line is so thick. So pen is fine, you know, pencil, as long as it's dark enough, especially if you're going to do your scan, it needs to be dark enough that you know, I can see the deal. And we're going to do inside the trigger guard here so we can see right where the trigger is. And there it is, same exact same thing here. Again, the only other thing that we really got to have on this for the formula I'm using is we want to get a girth right here around the trigger guard. You don't have to pull it super tight, just make sure that it's, you know, doesn't have a whole bunch of slack in it. And this one looks like it's about 8 1/2. So girth of 8 1/2 inches. And that girth is going to be right here across the trigger guard, again, the widest point of the gun. And when you do the tracing, you're almost always going to see that this is, you know, you try to put your fingers around this part right here, it's going to be in the holster, and it's also going to be the biggest part, the hardest part to get your fingers around. So anyways, for standard holsters, that's really all I need. If you can get those measurements to me, if you have any odd shaped guns or something, as long as they're not real guns, you can just ship them right to the address. Give me a holler, and I'll arrange shipping for you. You can send it right to the workshop, and I'll make it custom for you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you've got any questions, please email me and let me know. Thanks a lot.